Welcome to High Infidelity, the best cheating videos on YouTube. If you enjoy this content, remember to subscribe and turn on notifications. Now let's get into the video.
Wife cheated because I was too emotional. Man-child. It's been 14 months since her case was filed, and 5 months since it was finalized. I'm still in a lot of discomfort. A lot of people, including myself, are seeking for answers as to where and why things went wrong. In February 2020, I became fairly emotional for the first time in our relationship, and I think it was the first time she had ever seen me cry in front of others. It was about a neck injury I had sustained that may have been averted if I had received cryotherapy that I didn't even need. Because of this, I spent the last few months of my life wallowing in self-pity, regret, humiliation, and other bad feelings as I neared the finish of a rear-end collision claim in which all I wanted to do was optimize my recovery and get as healthy as possible. As a consequence, my expectations were completely flipped upside down, and I was confronted with new agony and limitations that were much greater than those I had experienced as a result of the vehicle accident 2 years before. She started conversing with someone she met while working on a task for her employer less than a month after I began to sink into a sad state. The same time, she felt she had been let down by expectations. We were forced to relocate from our home for a full 7 months to allow for a total makeover according to her specifications, and COVID was on top of the situation. I went to work every day, but she didn't since her firm was in the food industry. I can't help but believe that it was my mental state that depleted any remaining desire for me at the time. As a consequence, my trauma has now been worsened, and I have decided to divorce my husband. I flip and flap, unsure whether I should be relieved that I uncovered her true character, or disappointed that she would not stay by my side through my first ever life crisis. Do you think I should take this as a lesson and promise myself that I would never get that emotional in front of my partner again? As a woman who is fully aware of the fact that women reflexively, or not, dry up when they witness a man weep, it is impossible for me to think that this was not the underlying cause for our ultimate separation. She informed me that we needed counseling about a week before she started speaking with this individual, and I expressed my willingness to participate, but she thought I was not in the proper mental state to deal with the challenges in our marriage. Personally, I was seeking assistance via personal counseling, self-help, and medicine, all of which were non-harmful, but I was having difficulty snapping out of it. The fact that she had been conversing with 3 men and calling me a man-child, among other things, didn't dawn on me until we returned to our home in June. She filed for divorce 3 months after we started counseling, which lasted 3 months in total, before we ended it. After digging through her things, I came across a message in which she claimed to have a hidden folder and that if I saw what was within, we'd be signing papers. At the moment, the feeling of betrayal in my mind was too overwhelming to overcome. All in all, it was a depressing experience. We had a beautiful relationship for 11 years, and we were married for 6 years throughout that time. I loved her and cherish her much more now that she is gone. Attempting to view this as a blessing in disguise, I often assumed that if I hadn't been harmed, it would not have resulted in my depression and her eventual infidelity, but that is not how things turned out in the end. A decade ago, we were just 3 months into our relationship when she physically cheated on me. I never imagined it would happen again. I'm now apprehensive of expressing myself emotionally in any future relationships. In many ways, I'm a shadow of the person I used to be. My life has altered considerably since I last wrote about it 2 years ago. Suicidal thoughts are rampant, and there is nothing left to live for. We didn't desire children and had a diverse variety of hobbies, so we didn't have any. Because they were all I had, I decided to keep the house and the 2 dogs. And my parents, even though I feel each of them has only 1 or 2 years left to live at this point. I'm now in therapy and have been on Zoloft for the last 3 weeks. I'm still having trouble getting rid of my ruminative thoughts and negative perspective. Story 2. Married for 19 years before my wife cheated on me. This is my first visit to Reddit. I'm looking forward to it. I'll be 75 years old in July, and I've seen a lot in my time. To be really honest, I wanted to tell my story to the younger generation before I passed away. Because I have lung cancer and don't expect to live much longer, I feel compelled to share this knowledge with the public. When I got married in 1964, I was 18 years old. It's as if I'm no longer the same person I used to be. I used to be in good physical shape, but I'm now restricted to a wheelchair due to a medical problem. I had to work full-time in order to support my wife and myself since I didn't have enough money to sustain both of us. While I was working on the building site, she cleaned hotel rooms. Because we didn't have children, we were able to spend time alone on weekends. I'm not sure whether we ever argued, but it's been so long that I'm forgetting, and we didn't seem to have any difficulties getting along with one another. With time, I was able to earn additional income, and she was able to quit her job and be at home with her children. Because I was working more hours, our marriage honestly deteriorated and became nothing more than a friendship. We didn't have much, and even though I still loved her, I felt like there was something missing. In the end, we didn't spend nearly as time together as we would have liked. Because of my job, I assumed full responsibility for leading us down the incorrect road. It turned out that this was not the only issue, as you will see later, but that I should have addressed it while I still had the chance to do so. One evening, when I get home from work, everything seems to be as normal. Dinner had been served, and baseball was being shown on television, which used to be my favorite sport. My short conversation with her occurred in the kitchen before I went to my room to change out of my business attire. On my nightstand was a box of condoms, which I saw as soon as I went in. I became concerned since I had a vasectomy some years ago and had never used condoms before. I instantly inquired of my wife about them, but she was unable to provide a satisfactory response in a timely manner. She fell into tears as she revealed her adultery to her husband. While I was gone, she had a colleague over and it seems that she did not properly dispose of the condoms. I'm not ashamed to admit that I, too, was brought to tears after hearing what she had to say about her mother. When I questioned her about why she did this, she said that she was not attracted to me, that she was lonely, and that she did not like our. I couldn't come up with anything to say, so I decided to go away. After 19 years of marriage, we decided to separate. When I was in my 30s, I was a complete disaster. I had lost all hope and drive to continue. I began drinking and gradually developed into an alcoholic. It took me until I was in my 60s to break this habit. I couldn't look in the mirror and see myself as a failure of a guy. I wanted to date again, but I was afraid that the same thing might happen. It never occurred to me that I was awful in bed, and I had no good responses. My skin began to wrinkle a little, particularly on the back of my legs, but I took care in keeping my figure for a long, and I swore she loved it when I had throughout our marriage. I preserved my tough man persona into my 30s, and I still wore my bandana during, which she found appealing. I was a generous person who always went down on her when she asked. I utilized cock rings to keep erections going and could always climax extra hard, which was a fetish of hers. I couldn't do anything else if I tried my hardest. However, as time passed, I began to consider the thought that wasn't all that vital at an older age, and I began dating again approximately 5 years ago. We don't have an active life, but she assured me that nothing was wrong with me. I remarried last year, which made me very happy, but sadly, it was also the time when I was diagnosed with cancer. I've lost a lot of energy since then, and my new wife is the only one who keeps me going. We're attempting chemotherapy, but the outlook is grim. In my final days, I'd want to contribute some of the information I've gained over the years in order to make the world a better place. My mental faculties are also deteriorating, therefore I need to act quickly. I hope everyone who reads this can take something from me to make their lives better.